Prince William now owns a very valuable estate in Britain. This estate was a special place for Camilla. She had filled it with her family and given them jobs there for many years. But when William got the estate, he made them all leave. Every single one. Now William is planning something else, and it has made Camilla very scared. People close to her say she is truly worried about where she will live. You are about to learn why she never saw this coming. It's about the big estate that landed in William's hands and what it really meant. On September 8, 2022, Queen Elizabeth II passed away at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. At that exact moment, before anyone even understood what happened, many things changed in the British royal family. Charles became king. Everyone knew that part, but something else also happened then. Something that wasn't a big news story but is still causing problems for the royal family today. William, who was 40, became the Duke of Cornwall. This happened automatically because of the law. The second his dad became king, William became the only owner of a very old and powerful private estate. What William got that day was huge. The Duchy of Cornwall is worth $1.2 billion. It has 135,000 acres of land in 23 parts of England and Wales. It includes almost all of the Isles of Scilly, which are beautiful islands near Cornwall. It also has half of Dartmoor in Devon, old farms, old castles, houses that people rent, vacation homes, and many years of money investments. This estate was made in 1337 by King Edward III for his son, Edward the Black Prince, who was the first Duke of Cornwall. The rule was simple and has never changed. The estate belongs to the king's oldest son and the person who will be king next. Almost 700 years of history, and now it belonged to William. By 2025, William was making $30 million a year from this estate. He even chooses to pay taxes on it, even though the law doesn't make him. But here is where the story gets more serious, and most people didn't know this part. The Duchy of Cornwall was the same estate that had been paying for Charles's life for many years. When Charles was the Duke of Cornwall, this estate gave him his money. It paid for how he lived, his homes, and his projects. During those same years, Charles was having a secret relationship with Camilla. This completely broke his marriage to Diana. Diana said it made her feel like there were 3 people in her marriage. Most people never saw how sad it made Diana in private. Knowing her husband chose another woman over and over again made her feel bad about herself. People who worked for her said she would pull them aside, looking scared, and quietly ask, "Am I pretty enough?" When they said yes, she would shake her head and whisper, "Don't lie to the princess." She was like a little girl trying not to cry. A woman everyone called beautiful couldn't see it in herself anymore, because the man she married made her feel like she wasn't important. Some nights, palace staff heard quiet crying from her room at 3:00 in the morning. Many nights she slept in a different room from Charles, alone in one of the biggest buildings in the world. No one saw her sadness, and she felt empty inside. She became so unsure of herself, so worried that she was losing her husband to another woman, that people close to her said she was slowly disappearing from the inside. William and Harry watched this secret relationship make their mother sad from when they were little boys. The money that paid for this lifestyle now belonged to Diana's son. And there was one more important thing almost no one talked about. The Duchy of Cornwall was made by Edward III so that future kings could never be controlled by the king who was ruling at the time. William owning it meant he didn't need money from his own father or anyone else. And this had important effects that Camilla's family was about to feel. Because inside that estate, getting a royal paycheck for almost 20 years, was a woman named Annabel Elliot. She was Queen Camilla's younger sister. She was hired in 2005 to decorate the insides of properties on the estate in Cornwall, Wales, and the Isles of Scilly. She got the job without anyone else being considered. She got the work because her sister married the man who owned the estate. That was the whole reason for the deal, and for 20 years it worked perfectly. Until the day William became her boss. What happened next made Camilla's family feel like they had been hit by lightning. Before we talk about that, you need to know who Camilla was and what she had been doing in this family for the last 20 years. Because William's actions were not random. They were a response to something, and that something is much worse than most people think. What Camilla built and how she did it. Long before William could do anything about it, he was watching. And what he watched would have broken a weaker man. It started with a promise. Before Charles married Camilla in April 2005, William and Harry talked to their father privately. They made one quiet, specific request. Harry later wrote about this talk in his book, Spare. He wrote that they told their father, "We support you. We like Camilla. We will welcome her into the family. Just please do not marry her. Just be together." Harry wrote, The boys knew that a wedding would bring their mother's name back into every newspaper in the world. It would make the whole country compare Diana to the woman who was her husband's secret lover during their marriage. Neither of them wanted that. Charles listened to both of his sons, and then he married her anyway. To make the public feel better, Buckingham Palace made a special public announcement. When Charles finally became king, Camilla would be called Princess Consort. She would never be queen. That was the deal. William accepted it. He went to the wedding, shook hands, smiled for the cameras, and kept the heavy meaning of it all deep inside where no one could see. In February 2022, something happened that many people didn't fully understand then. Queen Elizabeth II sent a message about her 70 years as queen. It was supposed to be a time to think about her life and what she left behind. But hidden in that message was a decision that would change everything. She said it was her true wish that Camilla be known as Queen Consort when King Charles III became king. At first, people thought it was a sign of acceptance, maybe even forgiveness. But those close to the Queen told a very different story. This wasn't about love or approval. This was about fear. By this time, the Queen was dying. Her health was getting worse quickly, and she knew it. She could see what was coming. The crown would soon go to Charles, and with it a big problem she wouldn't be there to fix. One person close to her said it simply. She wasn't giving Camilla her blessing, she was trying to control something. In private, the Queen had used words that no one else heard. She had called Camilla dangerous. She had watched for years. She had seen how far things could go. And in those last years, she made a decision that felt less like saying yes and more like giving up. She gave Camilla what she wanted, not because she believed in her, but because she was afraid of what might happen if she didn't. It was like a woman trying to stop a fire she knew she wouldn't live long enough to fight. Then came May 2023, the coronation, and something else quietly changed. The word consort started to disappear until it was completely gone. Camilla was no longer Queen Consort. She was simply Queen, the exact title she had always wanted, the one both princes had once said should never happen, and yet there it was, official, complete. One person later said what many had thought all along. She was never going to be happy with anything less. William had watched every part of the first promise get changed, and he said nothing. But people said his anger was deep and hidden. One person said clearly, William is better at hiding his feelings than Harry, so he tried to hide his anger. The way Camilla treated his mother has not been forgotten. And there was much more to be angry about than just the title. Camilla didn't just wait for her position to get stronger. She worked for it, and she had a special way of working. When she wanted Charles to see William or Harry in a bad way, she would go to him privately and whisper her side of the story in his ear. She slowly and quietly changed what Charles thought about his own sons from the inside. A royal writer, Christopher Anderson, said that Camilla was known to do exactly this, telling Charles about William and Harry's faults when no one else was in the room. But that was only one part of her plan. The other part was the newspapers. Camilla had made friends with important British reporters, and her team used these friendships as weapons. When she needed to look good, stories would appear. When she needed someone else to look bad, those stories would appear too. Her team spread the false story that Meghan had made Kate cry before the 2018 royal wedding. That story spread through the British newspapers and caused real harm inside the family. Everyone in the palace knew it was a lie. Charles's team refused to fix it. William and Harry went straight to their father and told him what his communication team was doing. Charles yelled at them and told William he was being overly suspicious. Camilla had built a system where every door they tried to open led back to her. William wasn't suspicious. He was watching clearly. He was remembering every single thing, and he was waiting for the day he had the power to respond. The deal with Annabel was made the same way. Camilla's sister was given the good-paying royal job without having to compete for it, and she kept it for 20 years. But what made it almost unbearable was a hidden detail, because long before the job there was something else, something secret. Back when King Charles III was still married to Princess Diana, his secret relationship with Camilla had to be hidden. And there was one place where that happened, a quiet country house in Dorset, Annabel's house. It was in the village of Stourpayne, a quiet, private place safe from attention. That's where they met. Weekend after weekend, Annabel gave them the space, the cover, the protection. And that's what makes what came next so hard to ignore. Years later, after everything was out in the open, after the harm was done, after Diana was gone, Annabel was now being paid because of the job Camilla gave her. Paid through the estate connected to Diana's memory, paid from the estate connected to William. When William finally had the power to act, the question was never if he would. The question was only how. Silent war begins. The moment William became Duke of Cornwall, he knew exactly what he was going to do about Annabel Elliot. He would fire her. He didn't call a meeting. He didn't send a letter. He didn't make any public statement. He simply waited for the Duchy of Cornwall to release its normal yearly money reports. This is a paper that almost no one outside of royal money experts ever reads. It's a boring, technical list of money made, money spent, and staff for the estate. But this time, something was different. Annabel Elliott's name was gone. 20 years of working for the royals ended without a single public word. To understand how much that removal really meant, you need to understand how much Annabel had built during those 20 years. Then you will understand exactly how much William just took away. Annabel was truly talented and respected by many. In 2014, she was named the 5th most important female interior designer in the United Kingdom. She had designed the insides of 12 vacation homes on the Isles of Scilly. She had worked on properties at Restormel Castle. She had changed the Lewinick Lodge estate in Wales. She had taken an old barn at Dumfries House in Scotland and made it into a fancy guest house that was used for weddings and private parties. For almost 20 years, her work was part of some of the most beautiful properties in the entire royal collection. None of that saved her. Royal expert Emmy Griffiths explained the situation carefully, using words people use when they don't want to say something too directly. She said that since Prince William had become the Duke of Cornwall, he had taken Annabel off the payroll, and that this had caused some small problems in some news stories. The official statement from sources was also very careful. They said the decision was not about her work. Everyone knew that. A different royal source was much less careful. This source said William's action sent a message, and that he wanted to get rid of the royal hangers-on and reduce the fancy spending his father had started when he was in charge of the estate. Cut away the royal hangers-on. That is the important phrase. That is what William thought of the arrangement his father had made for his wife's family. At the same time Annabel disappeared from the payroll, William was filling the estate with people he had chosen himself. He brought in Harry Aubrey Fletcher and William Van Straubenzee, both of whom were his personal friends and godparents to his children, Prince George and Prince Louis. The message didn't need any explanation. Out went Camilla's family. In came William's people. Every job Charles had filled with someone from his world was now being checked. Every arrangement made for Camilla's comfort was being looked at. On the surface, the money cost was small. Annabel had been paid between $19,625 and $82,272 per year, which is almost nothing compared to a $1.2 billion estate. But the meaning was huge, and everyone in the royal family felt it. It told Camilla that her family's connection to the crown was not forever. It told the royal household that the change from Charles's time to William's had already quietly started. And this was not the only shot William fired. Every year at Christmas, the royal family gathers at Sandringham. It is one of the most important family traditions for the monarchy. Sandringham is where generations of royals have spent the holiday together. William will own it one day. Camilla decided to invite her son, Tom Parker Bowles, her child from her first marriage, to the family Christmas there. Reports came out that a very angry William had made his feelings clear. He would not go to the main Christmas lunch if Tom was there. Camilla invited Tom anyway. Tom told the Telegraph that his mother had personally asked him to come, telling him she hadn't had Christmas with him in a long time. Tom came. William did not go to the main gathering at the big house. He stayed with Kate and their children at Anmer Hall, their home on the Sandringham estate, and spent Christmas there instead. Camilla had just forced the future King of England out of his own family Christmas at an estate he will one day own, because she invited her son and refused to change her mind. Then in September 2025, something happened publicly that made the tension impossible to ignore. During Donald Trump's visit to Windsor Castle, Kate had an easy and natural conversation with Melania Trump. The two women connected warmly. Then from the side, Camilla stepped in. What happened next lasted only a second, but it changed the whole mood of the moment. Camilla raised her hand and made a quick, firm motion toward Kate. It was a signal, and it said, "Move, step aside, leave." It wasn't spoken, but it was clear. A body language expert, Judy James, later described it clearly. It looked like she was showing who was in charge, almost shooing her away. The video spread everywhere. Millions watched it, slowed it down, played it again because what it showed was uncomfortable. The Queen seemed to be telling the future Queen to leave in public in front of world leaders. Behind the scenes, the reaction was immediate. Prince William had spent years trying to keep things calm, but this was different. One source said it bothered him a lot. That wasn't just awkward, that went too far. Because this wasn't a private disagreement anymore. It was a public message, and it had just been sent to the whole world. By that point, something even more troubling was already happening in private. King Charles III, who was still fighting cancer, had started having quiet talks with his son about what would happen after he was gone. One person close to them said the talks were serious and personal. "Leave Camilla alone," that was Charles's message to his son. "Protect her, don't go against her, don't push her out." It was a dying king spending what might be his last years trying to make sure his wife was safe by asking the one person who could take it away. That single detail tells you more about where this is going than anything else. Because William's answer was not in words. It was in a payroll report. It was in a Christmas he didn't attend. It was in the friends he hired to replace the woman his father's wife had hired. But the firing of Annabel Elliot and the Christmas argument were only what people could see. The action that Camilla understood most deeply, the one that would decide the rest of her life, had nothing to do with a payroll and everything to do with a house. Because William had not just gotten an estate, he had gotten the homes she called her own. And the day was coming when she would have to ask him if she could stay. The homes she calls hers and the man who owns them. Right now, Queen Camilla's life looks completely safe. She moves between Buckingham Palace, Clarence House, Sandringham, and Balmoral. She has official royal duties. She has the full support and protection of her husband, the king. She has the title Her Majesty, the Queen. She is in charge or a helper for more than 90 charities. From the outside, her position looks strong and forever. But everything she has is connected to one man, and that man has cancer. Here is something that most people don't fully understand, and it is the most important thing in this whole story. Sandringham House in Norfolk and Balmoral Castle in Scotland are not owned by the British government. They are not royal properties managed by a group. They are owned privately, just like a family home. Queen Elizabeth II got both of them from her father, King George VI. When Elizabeth died in September 2022, they went directly to Charles. When Charles dies, they will go directly to William. Balmoral is worth $140 million. Sandringham is worth $65 million. Together, that is over $200 million in private property that Camilla currently walks through, sleeps in, and calls home. None of it belongs to her, not legally, not in any paper that exists anywhere. One day, these homes will belong to William, the man who just removed her sister from his payroll without saying a word in public. Balmoral, especially, has a meaning that is much bigger than its money value. William was 15 years old and staying at Balmoral with his brother Harry in August 1997 when their father came to their rooms before morning to tell them their mother was dead. Diana had been killed in a car crash in Paris. William and Harry walked those grounds that morning completely broken. Two boys trying to get through something no child should ever have to. And the hidden detail is that when Charles got the news from Paris that night, the first person he called was not the Queen, who was also at Balmoral. The first person he called was Camilla. She told him Diana would be okay. Then he called back with the news that she was gone. Camilla was the first to know. She was there for Charles's sadness before his own sons were even awake. Camilla now walks those same grounds as Queen. William will own them one day. When Charles dies, the legal transfer is instant and automatic, just like it was in 2022 when William became Duke of Cornwall. William becomes King II, his father is gone. Kate becomes Queen, and Camilla completely loses the title, the Queen. It goes to Kate. Camilla would most likely become Queen Dowager, which means the widow of a king. It is not a bad title, but it is a step down that the whole world will notice. Here is the part that makes it truly scary for Camilla. Her title is not protected because she was born into the royal family. She is royal only because she married into it. That means it will be completely up to William to decide what she is called after Charles is gone. Charles took Diana's title, Her Royal Highness, away after their divorce. William was there for that. He watched it happen to his mother. He knows exactly how it works, and now he could get revenge for his mother. He could take back everything Camilla took from his mother. Sandringham and Balmoral will belong to William. Whether Camilla can keep living in those homes will depend completely on what William decides. There is no legal protection that guarantees her access. She will be a guest if he is kind enough to let her stay. And here is the detail that makes her situation almost impossible to escape. Camilla had one piece of property in her life that was completely and only hers. It was called Ray Mill House, a private home in Wiltshire that she had owned before she ever married Charles. She used to talk about it with real warmth. She called the garden there the best therapy in the world. It was her quiet place, her private land, the one place where she could close the door and just be herself, away from the heavy royal life. But then she sold it. She sold the only home that was truly hers. The reasons given were that she wanted to give her full attention to her royal life and her role beside Charles. But the result of that decision is terrible and cannot be changed. When Charles dies, Camilla will have no private property of her own anywhere. She will live wherever William decides she should live. The woman who spent 20 years planning her way to the top of the most powerful family in Britain, who managed the newspapers, would now completely depend on the kindness of the man she helped push out of his own family home. She built the trap herself. She walked into it with her eyes open, and now the door has closed.